Hello everybody. In this video we're going to talk about how to do a t-test and confidence intervals in Stata. So here I have the Stata data set for the STAR study, the Tennessee STAR study pulled up. And let's just take a look at some of the variables. So one of the main outcome variables here is math. So let's just do some math, summary of that variable. And what we have here is that the average math score in our sample is 485. Let's say that you were, on the other hand, just to review what it means to do a t-test in general, let's say you're curious about whether the test score is 500. Is the true average population test score equal to the number 500 or not? And let's say your alternative hypothesis is just, maybe it's not 500. And the way you'd normally do a t-test, without Stata is you'd first, you'd set your hypothesis and then you would just collect some data. You'd figure out what your sample's average is. And here we kind of already know from our sample average, it's 485-ish. I'm just rounding here. And we also have standard deviation, 47. We have our sample size n's, 5,000 something. So you have all that. You have your S, you have your N. And then what you do is you find your test statistic, T, and essentially, based on that, you then find your p-value, and here's what sort of graphically it's going to look like. The hypothesis is saying that, all right, is the true average 500? All right, and we know that our sample was only 485. So the question is 485 far enough from 500 for us to be able to reject 500 as a reasonable guess? And so really what we're looking for is the farther it is, the lower this p-value is, because, that's less area. And here, if it's a two-sided test, you would technically also include stuff on the other side. But anyway, we're looking for, what's this area, this p-value. And the lower the p-value is, the lower this area, the more likely we're going to reject this null, below our threshold. So long story short, how do you actually do this in Stata? And the good news is that it's just one quick command line. You would literally just say t-test, and then your variable, math, equals 500. So just t-test, the variable you want to test for, double equals, and then the value that you're testing for, whether it's equal to that or not. All right, let's see what happens. Well, so, it's first of all doing the summary that we sort of would have done anyway. But then it's specifically telling us here the T, the test statistic, it's negative 23. That's a really big, negative test statistic. That means that, we're 23 standard errors away from the mean, right? So negative 23. So that means, yeah, this p-value is going to be like, very, very close to 0, like almost not even, it's going to be super, super tiny. And so the p-value is this thing in the middle here, the p. And so notice here that there's three different p-values. There's this p-value, and this p-value. The difference in which of these three p-values you use is simply based on the alternative hypothesis. If the alternative hypothesis, which it usually is just not equals, you just use the middle one. But if your alternative was that it's less than, that mu is less than 500, or whatever that number was, well then you would just use this left p-value, this p-value, and if it was greater than, well then you select this one. So that difference between these three, it's not that important for most, high-level data work. But if you're like in a very theoretical statistics course, then, you could look into that difference and choose which one of these. But for the most part, if they don't specify an alternative, you just pick the middle one. But yeah, so here what do we conclude? Here the main conclusion is that 485 is far enough from this guy, from our guess of 500, because this p-value is less than 0.05 or whatever alpha threshold we chose. All right, so that's just how you do a simple regular hypothesis test. Let's look at the female variable. Let's just check and see, is the true proportion of females 50% or not? So we would do t-test female equals 0.5. So that's the null hypothesis here is that the percentage of women is 50%, and let's see if we reject that or not. So here the p-value is 0.02, right? So what that means is you'd reject it at the 5% level, but not if your alpha is 1%, right? So if your alpha is 1%, so if you're being really, really safe, and you're saying you're only going to reject the null if the p is super low, below 1%, well then you'd say, oh yeah, you're not going to reject this, and that means that this average, by the way, we could again just see here this first thing that pops up, it shows us that 48% of people in our sample were female. What we're saying is that this 48% is close enough to 50. So again, just to recap what happened there is, our null hypothesis was that the percentage of females is 50%. Our sample had 48.6 or whatever percent female. And we found that our p-value, this shaded region, was 2%. And so essentially, we know that this is large enough if we're using a 1% hypothesis threshold. So if alpha is 1%, we're like, oh yeah, p is big, meaning this area is big, which means that these two numbers are close enough where you cannot reject 50% as the truth. But like I said, if you chose a different higher alpha level, then you'd say, oh yeah, these are far enough that this 1.5% gap is large enough for you to say, yeah, it's not 50 and that there's truly fewer females in the population. So that's how you just do a regular t-test. Now, the most common t-test that you would do, though, is not just testing for whether a variable has a certain value, but rather whether two groups have the same value for that variable or not. So something that you would be most likely to actually test in the real world is not whether the average score is like a specific number, but rather something like, is the true average score, the null would be is that the true average for group 1, females, equal to the average for group 2, which is males, for example. So this is basically in English, your null hypothesis is that the average math score is equal for males and females. All right, so that's, the type of test we want to do. So really the way we operationalize this is we sort of look at what's the difference between them. What is the male minus female score? Or female minus male, doesn't matter. And so if there's really no difference, the null hypothesis is really sort of saying that the difference is 0. So it's sort of like this. If the object that we're measuring now is just the difference between males and females, then 0 is sort of the truth, and then we could see what the difference is in our sample. What's the x bar, the difference in our sample, and then we could see if that difference is far enough from 0 for us to reject 0 or not. So the command for that is this. It's t-test math, right? So far, so t-test for the math score, but instead of equaling a specific number, you do comma, and then by, and then in parentheses, the variable that you want to do it by. So by female. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so here's what's happening. So t-test math by female, essentially, so notice it's giving us a lot of good info here. It's telling us, first of all, oh yeah, for the group equals, where female equals 0, meaning this first row is essentially the males, right? So where female has a value of 0, meaning you're a man, there's 3,000 men in our sample, and their average score was 481. But females, their average score was 489, right? So the difference, like I said, the thing that we're really after is -7, for example. That males are scoring 7.5 points less than females. And so that, you might guess is a fairly big difference. So -7 is the difference in our sample, -7.5 or whatever. And so the question then is, the p-value is, just this area, and again, to both sides if you're doing, that. But notice that the t-value, the t is -6, which that again means 6 standard deviations below the mean. That's pretty far below, so your p-value is, basically 0 for at least the first 4 decimal places, which means it's definitely smaller than even the 1% alpha that you might have set. And so yeah, here we would say that the p-value was so low, again, it's not exactly 0. The p-value is not 0 per se. It's just 0 to the first 4 decimal places. But it's basically going to be, no matter what, we're sure that it's less than 0.05 or even 0.01, you could say. So, all right, so the p-value is less than this, and so we're going to conclude that we're going to reject the null. So that means that this p is so low because these 7.5 is far enough from 0, where we're going to reject 0. We're going to reject this null that is that there's no difference between males and females in their math scores. In fact, here we would say that males on average score less, right? So, by the way, notice when you do a t-test, you kind of get a confidence interval for free. This is telling you the confidence interval for the difference is like, oh yeah, -7.5 is the difference in our sample. But if we wanted to have like a range for what we might believe the difference is, well, we'd say, well, the difference might be as low as like 10 points below, meaning men are 10 points below females, or the highest estimate is that they're 5 points below females. But notice that the entire range is below, so we're pretty confident that there's a difference in their average scores. Notice we could then do this by another dummy variable. We could do it by, for example, free lunch, where again that's like a 0-1 for whether you get free lunch or not. Let's see what happens. So those without free lunch on average score 496, and those on free lunch, as you might guess, because they're usually lower income, are scoring what, 23 points below. That's going to be a pretty big difference. The t is 19, again 19 standard deviations below. So yeah, it's no contest that we're rejecting the null that they're equal. Like these two are not equal to each other. We're pretty confident about that. Again, the difference, the confidence interval, is that the difference between them might not be exactly 23. That's just what it was in our sample. If we try to generalize to the population, it might not be exactly 23, but we're fairly confident that it's somewhere between like 21-ish and 26-ish. And so either way, we think that the free lunch students have a much lower test score on average than those without free lunch. And so that's the confidence interval. So you don't actually sort of need to. So notice, for example, even that first thing we did, if we just want to, for example, look at the average math score, and you want to do a confidence interval about just the math score, we again knew, just to recap, the average math score was, 485. If you wanted to confidence interval around that, you could just do this. You could do confidence interval CI means, confidence interval means, and then the variable that you want, math. And this gives you, so by default, it's giving you a 95% confidence interval. All right, so yeah, 485 is what it was in our sample, but really, if we want to give like an interval estimate, it's anywhere from 484 to 486. That's pretty narrow. We could do it for female as well. What's the confidence interval? So again, 48.6% was our sample, but overall, if we're trying to generalize, it could be anywhere as low as 47.38 or as large as 49.84. But that was at the 95% confidence. That's default. How would you change that? How would you change the 95%? Well, here, and this is a thing that's really common within Stata, is for most commands at the end, there's something called options. So if you want to change like sort of these default settings, after the line of code, you do comma, and again, it depends on what options you have based on the code, but for the confidence interval, it would be level, meaning the percentage confident you want to be. So you do level, and then in parentheses, and you can set the level. So let's say you want it to be 99% confident. Theory tells us that the more confident you want to be, you're going to need a broader range to be more confident that the truth is in there. Let's see what happens when I do this. Well, notice almost everything's the same here. The only difference is it's a wider interval now. Instead of 47, it's starting lower, 46 something, and here it's going all the way up to 50.2%. And so that's sort of a broader interval, which makes sense because it's more confident. By the way, you don't actually have to type in the full level. You could actually just type L. Oh, and it's going to give you the same thing. And that's because Stata has sort of these built-in shortcuts. So if you're ever confused about this, again, the help command is useful. So let's say you weren't sure if it was like L or LEV, like what's the shortcut if you don't want to type out the whole word? You could just say help CI. And so it's telling you, you could click on the options, see what options are. Oh yeah, level, see the underlined L? That means L works, instead of the whole word. And then it's telling you, yeah, what confidence level you want to set. So the default's 95, but, yeah. So that is that. Now, one final thing while we're here is that you could actually do a regression to do a t-test instead. So for example, if I wanted to, again, just look at the difference in math scores between males and females, I could do, just to recap, what did we do here, right? T-test math by female, all right, just to get our results again. So the average difference was 7.53. If you want to do a regression, you could just do reg, and then the main y variable that you're testing, math, and then the dummy variable that you're testing, which is, in this case, female. Let's see what happens. So what this is saying is, if you're a female, that you on average have 7.5 more points than males, which is sort of exactly what this is saying. And this is giving us that t of 6.07, which is exactly what this t was, and the p-value, and it's also giving us that confidence interval, phi to, yeah. So a regression is usually a substitute for a t-test. You could do a t-test, a regression, and that'll give you a t-test. The benefit of doing it with the regression is now you could also control for other things as well. So it's not a pure t-test in that sense, but it's actually even more accurate. So in the real world, most people, depending on how many control variables they have and whatnot, they'll often do. You'll see them doing a t-test in the form of a regression instead of just like a pure straight-up t-test. But hey, you know, it's good to at least be aware of all these commands and what you want to do. Oh yeah, and one other final point, you might think to do a t-test by race. But if you look at the race, again, if we just to tab race, just to see, well, there's more than 2 categories, which means you actually can't do a t-test. The t-test specifically only works when there's 2 categories. And so you can't, if we tried it, if we just tried to do, you know, let's see, let's that command, t-test math by instead of female, if we did it by race, it's going to give us an error because, you know, only 2 groups are allowed. So can you just not do this at all? Well, the only way you can do it is you'd have to turn this into several dummy variables, like just, are you white, yes or no, and then you could just do it by that. Are you black, yes or no, and then do it by that. So you could do, so you could only, the drawback there is you could only compare 2 groups at a time with that. So you could just say, you know, whites versus blacks, is there a difference in the average test score? And then you could do a t-test between them by turning this into a dummy variable where it's 0 if it's, you know, 0 if it's white, 1 if it's black, something like that, and just that. And then same with white versus Asian, or white versus Hispanics, or blacks versus Hispanics, right? So you can compare any 2 that way.